Okay, so I'm going to start talking to you a little bit about the design movements. Now, this is going to be a real brief overview of basically what is a very in-depth subject, but I'm going to give you an overview of a few design movements. But please feel free to go away and research them on your own, because they are actually really interesting and can help inspire your design for your coursework. I'm going to start with talking to you a little bit to begin with, though, about industrialization. Now, industrialization is a point in the 19th century where production tends to move into factories. Before that, we had something called the cottage industry, where if you needed something, you made it at home, which is lovely. However, it does mean that a lot of the products that were produced were of a low quality, because not everybody could produce a pair of shoes to the same standard. But the cottage industry wasn't big enough to be able to expand into an industry and into manufacture. But with the invention of things like the steam engine and the letterpress, we find that stuff becomes more mass produced. And that is what industrialization is. It's when stuff comes out of the home and goes into being produced in factories. I'm talking to you about this because the first movement we're going to look at is the arts and crafts movement. It was the first design movement. It began in the late 19th century, so about 1890, and only lasted about 20 years. That's because it died when its founder died, who was William Morris. Now, this movement was in fact a response to industrialisation. William Morris didn't like industrialisation. He believed that it produced low quality products, and he was very politically active and was not very impressed with the poor working conditions of people who were working in factories. So what he did is he tried to go back to having people make one-off items. So a lot of the stuff that was produced by the arts and craft movement is very high quality one-off productions. They produced quite a lot of solid wood furniture, but they also did a lot of prints, so they did a lot of wallpaper and other pieces as well. They believed that all products should be made simple and functional and only from natural materials. That means no synthetics. Now, William Morris is actually working in a time when regenerated fabrics and regenerated materials are starting to be discovered. It's kind of before a time of plastics and polymers. However, synthetics are becoming more and more used in everyday manufacture. They took a lot of inspiration from nature, and they wanted to return to a time where craftsmen were producing high quality products and were organised into guilds. But because of this, a lot of their products were very expensive. The second design movement I wanted to talk to you about was Bauhaus and Modernism. Bauhaus was a school for art and design that was founded in Germany in the 1920s. Its literal translation means building house. Students who attended Bauhaus experimented with colour, materials and form. They were especially interested in new materials, so synthetics, so completely different to the arts and crafts movement. And they could specialise in textiles, furniture, graphics and architecture. They had some main principles. Their main principles were that form should follow function. So that means that the product must be able to work well before you start to decorate it, which is completely different from a lot of the ornamentation of the stuff that we've seen before. So like the, if you look at Art Nouveau and everything is very decorated and very colourful, they really step away from that with form follows function. Everyday objects were for everyday people. They wanted to mass produce to reduce the cost so that it would be affordable for everybody. And they also believed that products were for a machine age. They should be designed to be made by machines, not individuals. So again, completely different from what William Morris was trying to achieve with the arts and crafts movement. They also liked geometrically pure forms, so no fuss or clutter, clean lines and geometric shapes. They could also use basic primary colours and simple tones. You could look at something like the iPhone or any of the Apple products and see that they actually follow a modernist or Bauhaus and modernist style. After the start of World War II, Bauhaus actually moved from Germany into Chicago in America, and this was because of Nazi persecution. So many of the designers heavily influenced American architecture, and they introduced reinforced concrete in construction. After World War II, the movement completely changed pace and became a modernist movement, so away from Bauhaus and into modernism. And the product should be driven by ergonomics and minimal application of decoration, and this was central to the modernists. And it's still the principle of contemporary industrial practice today. And the third and final design movement we're going to actually look at is Post-Modernism. So modernism is all about sleek lines, nice geometric shapes. Post-Modernism means it comes after modernism, and they kind of went a bit crazy. So they basically flipped on its head what modernism was. They said they wanted to focus on aesthetics rather than the function of the product. So whereas modernism was form follows function, postmodernism is function follows form. They use ornamentation and decorative finishes to enhance aesthetics. They designed to appeal to fashion and popular consumerism and youth culture. They borrowed styles from history, and they used everyday materials. Quite often they would charge quite a high price for an MDF structure, but because it was inspired by postmodernism, it was incredibly popular. They also quite often made these products unusable. So there is a specific dress that is worn by Grace Jones that is made from felt. So felt is a material that if you was to pull on it, doesn't go back to its original shape, and it is a maternity dress. So if you are wearing a maternity dress that is made out of felt, it will stretch when you get bigger with your baby and not go back to its original shape. So you would only be able to wear it that one time. And that really does sum up what postmodernism is. It's not about being able to be a useful product, it's about being attractive.